Start in like a minute, I think. It's a good amount. All right, I think we can get started now. So just to start off, thanks everyone for coming. Good evening. But my name is Jan Fisher. I'm in 10th grade. I'm 16, and I'm a mental health ambassador. I'm also an AYLUS member. And basically what my goal is as a mental health ambassador is it's to spread awareness about mental health and just to our goal is to spread like mental health awareness across the community and make people feel as good as they can. So I have a slideshow right here as we begin, just like something to do, just as like more of a warm up. But the first thing we have here is just more of a check-in or like just share an emotion. You don't have to if you don't want to, but just if you feel like it, you can just choose one of the emotions here and just put it in the chat. Again, it's not required or anything, but I think it's a good way to just warm up before a discussion. So feel free to put something in the chat. It'll take like 2 minutes for that. Okay. I think we can move on. So right now, I think I'd like to introduce a very special guest, Dr. Marsha Wolf. Dr. Marsha Wolf, she's a clinical psychologist with over 40 years of experience, specializing in adolescent and family therapy. She has a PhD from the University of Maryland and she's certified in hypnosis. Her current focus is helping students to cope with the impact of the pandemic, including navigating social interaction and stress reduction. So, Dr. Wolf, do you have any, you'd like to say a couple words?
Thank you very much, Jan. Thank you for inviting me and also for presenting this event, because over the last several years, the stress levels for everyone has gone up exponentially. And it's really, really important, whether you're a kid or a teen or an adult, a parent, whomever, every one of us faces challenges every single day. And how we handle it is the most important thing, because it does impact our health, the way we think, the way we process information. We become irritable, We become restless, nervous, all sorts of negative emotions can emerge when dealing with stress. And I think it's very, very important for each of you to know that you have the capability to overcome negative approaches to stress and develop some positive ways of handling it. And I think Jan has some questions that people have asked him to present. And so I turn it over to Jan.
All right, thank you, Dr. Wolf. So the first question that we have is, how could you prevent a mental health problem, like an issue, Because a lot of people have issues and a lot of people, it's obviously not a good thing. So how would one prevent something like that from happening?
I think it's not a means of preventing an event from happening. It's the way you handle it. There are negative ways and there are positive ways. And many of us kind of sit on our feelings and we don't talk about it, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that for most people, we really need to acknowledge that we're not weak, we're not pathetic, we're not childish or anything negative like that, but that each of us, regardless of where we are in the world, faces daily stress, but we have choices on how we handle it. And that's what we're going to be learning today.
Thank you. So the next question would be, so you talked about preventing it, but what actions could someone do to help someone who's exhibiting signs of mental health problems? What would you say would be a good way to take action?
Okay. I think for many people, especially males, and I don't mean this in a negative manner, but men are supposed to be strong, et cetera, et cetera. And women have more flexibility and they're able to express their feelings a little bit more. I think one of the most important ways, and this is for parents and adults when we're talking with our children or for our teenagers, that we really approach them gently. So many of us as adults want to lecture or want to give advice, and but that's not really the answer initially. I think just approaching them and asking gently, what's going on? Can I help in any way? Perhaps putting your hand on the shoulder or your arm around somebody or touching their hand, but gently asking, can I help you in any way? And if they say, no, nothing's bad, nothing's the matter, then you can suggest, well, maybe we'll go for a walk. Maybe we can go lift weights. Maybe we can, just go and do something. But you want to be gentle and not lecture or give advice, because most of the time when people are experiencing some stress, they are not telling the whole story. There's a lot more deeper issues going on that are combined with the immediate problem. So I think if you're gentle and just let them know that you're there and you can be trusted and there's no judgment, I think that really helps people initially to confide in you.
All right. Thank you for the insightful answer. So next up, why would mental health need to be brought into awareness? Because that's really my goal as an ambassador. So why would mental health need to be brought under the light? Why would it need to be made more important, I guess? Like made into like a bigger issue to deal with?
I think there's a real attitude about mental health. And it's often seen as a stigma if you're not up there and you're happy and you're, doing all the good things in life. But if you're feeling down or sad or anxious, whatever, you can be perceived as weak. And oftentimes, if you want to talk to somebody, there's a stigma attached. We're supposed to be kind of perfect And that doesn't happen because each and every one of us faces challenges, faces stress, faces negativity in our daily lives, but it's how we handle it. And that's good mental health. No, taking charge and being positive and pushing away the negative thoughts that you're weak or helpless. And I think especially this time over the last few years, and it's happened from the beginning of time, that the depression rate, the anxiety, the sadness, the suicide, everything has gone up exponentially. And we as family members, as friends, peers, etc., we all have to be sensitive to each other and try and help in the best way we can. But each of us can do it in a positive way rather than a negative way that many of us are trained to do. Does that answer?
Yeah, that was really helpful, and I totally agree with what you said. And I really think that needs to be brought into more awareness.
Yes,
But
very much so, especially among teenagers and young adults, because there's almost a stigma, and that if you're feeling that way, there's something wrong with you. And that's not the case at all. It's a situational thing. We worry about our jobs, we worry about school, societal challenges, transitioning, moving, or graduating, our opportunities with our friends, and so relationships. You know, there's just everything has a challenge to it, but how we approach it is we empower ourselves.
thank you. Again, I totally agree with what you just said. But next up, what would you do? We've talked about how to prevent it and what to do with someone else is feeling the problems, but what would you do if you felt worried?
If I felt
What could you
worried,
do to yourself?
first of all, because I'm trained in this, I would start breathing. And it means taking slowly inhaling, holding it for a few seconds, and then slowly exhaling, and doing this a number of times. And it's remarkable how the body reacts to the slow, deep breathing. Developing some sort of activity, physical activity, maybe walking, running, going to a gym, lifting weights, whatever. That also helps our physical strength and also changes the neurobiology in the body and in the brain. Doing diet is imperative, that we change our diets and eat healthy. And most of us eat fast foods, et cetera, et cetera. And it's really important to go back to the basics of vegetables and protein, because that also helps us cope much more efficiently with stress and the negativities that we're exposed to in life. Music helps tremendously for people, and it doesn't have to be very fast rap or hard rock, but something more gentle, more soft, because that also relaxes our body. Thinking positive thoughts, knowing that you have overcome past challenges, that you can overcome this particular issue. And I think changing the way we think about ourselves and the impact that we have can be altered tremendously. What other things can we do? Finding a hobby. But really what can be done is talking to someone, a family member, siblings, parents, peers, a good friend, someone you can trust that's not going to lecture or give advice, but to really hear what you're saying. And I think if you practice those things, your whole attitude will change throughout your life. But you have to do it consistently. It's like any habit. You're retraining yourself.
And I've realized that, like, I know a lot of people who are like suffering from these issues. They're also like, I guess, more lazy. They don't want to get up. A lot of what you said, it involved getting up and doing something. How would you overcome, like, because I know a lot of people, like some people who are really like suffering from that stuff,
Yes,
from those kinds of things. They
yes.
don't even want to get up off their bed. They just stay in their room all day. They don't even want to eat or anything, you know? So how would you, like, I guess, overcome that? How would someone be able to overcome that and be able
Well,
to go out and get a hobby?
uh-huh. I think that's a helpless feeling that each of us have experienced. It's not just for those people who are going through it right now. All of us have had helpless feelings and we don't want to do anything. We don't want to expose ourselves. But I think that knowing that you can overcome and react positively to current stressors can really, really help. And I think peers, I think friends, family members can encourage that, not lecture, not give advice, but just help them. Say, if I had a son, let's go for a walk. And they say no. And I'll say, well, I'll check back with you in a little while and maybe you'll change your mind. And can I bring you something to eat? Those kinds of things, because you really want to help them take control and help them not feel so helpless and ashamed. So, if somebody can come in with us and help us, then you're more inclined to help them and they will help themselves. And it does work.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, next, how would you react if you noticed something that you care about, someone that you care about is not himself or herself? So maybe not like a full-on issue, but you notice something is off. You don't know if they're feeling okay. What is a good thing to do to for someone who's just like feeling a bit off, who's not feeling themselves, and you noticed it?
I think just approaching them gently. Um, you know, um, some people don't like to be touched. So if you touch their shoulder or their hand or something, they might react negatively to that. But I think just allow yourself to be there for them and let them know that this is, by the tone of your voice, a lot of this, that you're not judging, you're not criticizing, you want to be there for them. And it should be somebody that they can trust, that they've had faith in over time. And more than likely, they would be inclined to trust you back. But again, no lectures, no advice giving, because it doesn't work. And you can let them know they have overcome challenges in the past. And you can ask them, how did you do it before? Think about it. Um, and give them things to think about, ways that they had dealt with past events that were stressful or disturbing, what have you. And then you can say, I'll come back in a little while. I'll give you some time to be alone if that's what you choose. And give them the power. It's really, really important. And just say, I'll be back shortly in a little while, that kind of thing. Because they're not ready to divulge everything. If this has been going on for a while, they really don't trust anybody and they don't want to share their secrets. They're ashamed. So it's being really gentle with them.
So you just want to like you want to be able to be the person that they can open up to.
Yes,
That's what you're trying to achieve.
yes,
Okay. I think that's it's a really strong piece of advice right there, just to be the person that the other person wants to open up to. That's what your end goal is.
it is, because you care about that person and they know you care, but you can't be pushy.
You want to give them their space at the same time, but
Yes,
you want to look after them.
yes, you want them to start taking control.
Okay. And another question, can you personally share a story or experience on treating someone? because you have a lot of experience in this field, and I'm sure there's been many stories where you've dealt with people going through these kinds of mental health problems. So would you mind sharing one?
No, I think the one that has, when I think about who had the greatest, not greatest impact, but was really very, very important in learning how to deal with all of this. He was 16 or 17, and close to 17, and he was in 11th grade at a school and doing very badly. And he kept taking time and skipping classes, et cetera, and doing little misdemeanors, shoplifting, and, just being aggressive and belligerent, et cetera, to the teachers, the parents, what have you. Well, he got in trouble with the law doing a minor thing. And he was in one of the juvenile detention centers. And I worked for juvenile justice for about 4 to 5 years. The judge the judge had him take a neuropsych test. And the sheriff brought him in. The sheriff sat outside, and I had this young man sit down. He was a big, tall guy, and gave him some things to start, told him what we were going to do, and gave him something to read. He started to read, and he was having a little difficulty. And I said, can you, it's a little hard, isn't it? And he got in my face a little bit and said, so, really belligerent. And I said, no, it's okay. And I said, but your reading is a little difficult for you. So, and then I sat back in the chair and I asked him to sit back. And I said, how dare they do that to you? And he looked at me like, what are you, crazy lady? And I said it 3 times. He was in 11th grade and he could not read on a 2nd grade level. Needless to say, all of you know how much reading is important in school. That not being able to do that, he was failing classes and all sorts of stuff. I talked to the judge, talked to his parents. We pulled him out of school. We put him in an adult learning program. He got his GED. He worked for a couple of years, earned some money, stayed out of trouble. And granted, in the beginning, he had one of those bracelets on in his ankle, but he started to work. He decided he was going to go to college. He went to community college. He finished that and then went to Maryland, graduated, got a really fine job, married, and 4 children. And he is just kind of my pinnacle, knowing that you can change your lives by thinking differently. And he did. He made a success of himself and for his family. And I'll never forget that. That was profound for me.
Well, you mentioned his parents. So I know like he was going through some tough times, but did his parents like know of these things, or were they just didn't care and they just
No,
said
it's not that they didn't care. They cared. That's why they lectured and reprimanded him and, put him on.
they just didn't know how to do
They
how to do
didn't
it
know.
correctly? You said
Right,
be gentle, but I
right.
guess just yelling at your kid isn't the right way to do it.
No. It just makes them withdraw and get angrier and angrier. And then unfortunately, he ended up in a program that he was going to court for. So he may have gotten jail time, but we worked it out. And I worked a lot with the parents, showing them how to, not showing them, but helping them face it and do different things with him. And it all worked out for him and for them.
But would you say that it was like necessarily anyone's like fault? Like if his parents like are his parents at fault, or is he at fault? Because I know his parents probably they obviously care a lot. They just didn't do it the right way. But at the
It's
same
not
time,
that,
I feel like there's still you could be going through some struggles, but there's still a part of you that I guess still knows what you're doing. It's not like it's taking over your mind completely. So would you say like who would be not necessarily at fault, but is the child responsible or is the parent responsible for?
Basically, neither one. It should have been the schools who they know when a child is having difficulty. The counselor should be talking with the parents. The counselor should be guiding them on how to address the problem. If he cannot read on a second grade level and he is in 11th grade, how many teachers and how many counselors ignored the problem? And that is the basis of both the parents' difficulties and the kids' difficulties, because that should have been addressed in second grade. I mean, I worked in the school system. I know what you're supposed to be doing. And the teachers just, kind of pushed him along. And that's what they do a lot of times. There's a lot of great teachers, don't get me wrong, but there are also other teachers that ignore certain behaviors and certain things that are happening to the kids.
You spoke about the school system. What do you think could be changed with the school system to, like, I guess, prevent this kind of thing from happening? You know, a kid who's in 11th grade who can barely read, who can read as well as a 7-year old. Like, what could be changed with the school system to prevent this kind of stuff from happening?
Because I was a consult to a lot of the schools in Montgomery and PG County, I gave lectures to the counselors. I gave lectures to the teachers to pick up on these subtleties and not pass the kids along. And nobody wants to have a 10-year-old in, say, second grade, obviously. But there are ways, there's things in the community that can help these children. And parents aren't given the opportunities or the names of places or people to help them deal with the problems. And his whole life could have been different. Their whole life, the parents' life, could have been different also. And I think it's really, really important that schools, and the funding is bad. So, their classes are overcrowded a lot of times, and they don't have enough resources to help each and every child. So, we as a community need to say, wait a minute, education is very, very important, and we need to address it and make it correct for all kids, not just one or two, not the gifted, but everyone.
Okay, thank you for that. That was a very insightful answer, but I think that's all the questions so far. So I think I'll move on to the next slide. Let me just share my screen.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. But here we just have some resources and a quick list of just how to deal with stress. And a lot of this goes to what Dr. Wolf said. The first thing you want to do is you want to breathe. I'm sure every one of us has been stressed, just like a lot of us in school. We're doing work, we got a lot of stuff to do. Not enough time. So here's some ways to deal with it. So you could breathe, obviously. Just take a couple deep breaths. Taking a walk is another great way just to relax, clear your head a little bit. And just thinking of a relaxing memory could just be enough to calm your brain. You could be like, oh yeah, I mean, I got a lot of stuff to do, but I can do it. Another thing that Dr. Wolf said, you want to be able to talk to a safe friend or parent. By safe, I mean that, like, a person that that you can talk to, a person you can open up to, person that you trust, more or less. My fault. You could always listen to music. It doesn't have to be relaxing music or anything. Personally, like, even when I listen to music that I like, I feel a lot more relaxed. Doesn't have to be relaxing music. Another way to do it is you could just tense your muscles for a couple seconds and then just relax them. And overall just makes you feel more relaxed, relieve some stress. Number 7, you could just go work out, or you can go lift, you can go on a run, just get your body moving. I think this is a great way. If I'm stressed out, I just lift a little bit in my basement or just go on a jog, and you'll feel a lot better. You'll feel a lot more refreshed.
Mhm.
Number 8, you could just hang out with your friends, do something, it kind of ties in with number 9, just to do something that you enjoy. This again just takes your mind off things, gives you like an escape. And that's it's a big reason why people like to play video games a lot. It kind of just takes their mind off things, gives you a break from the real world. So that's what people like to do when they're stressed out. And number 10 is just to give your brain a little bit of a dopamine rush. You just eat whatever you want. You eat some candy, makes you feel better, and then get back to work. So, Dr. Wolf, anything to say about this? Anything to add on?
I'd like to just add on that all of us have overcome stressed situations in the past, each and every one of us, no matter how insecure, uh, poor they were or to a little bit more important. We need to think about that we can overcome stress. We're not subject to it. We don't have to take the negative way of just giving in. We can be positive, we can be proactive. And the things that you have here are proactive things, but visualizing overcoming stress is also a way to help yourself deal with the issue, because you have overcome stress in the past.
Okay.
But thank you for that
Oh,
list.
yeah, thank you. And lastly, we just have some resources. These are just a couple websites. If you need help or anything, just if you want some more information, feel free to visit these. First up, we have the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. And it just offers, if you want information about adolescent mental health across the states and just mental health disorders and access to care, this is a website that you can visit. We have the JED Foundation, which is an organization committed to the mental and emotional health of college students and preventing suicide. So again, this is more things for adolescents, which we've seen a rise in, of course, as time goes on. And this foundation, it runs several free online self-assessment and resource programs for students and campuses. It offers training tools for campus professionals to improve their mental health services for students. So if you know anyone in college who might be struggling, because I know college, I'm not in it, but it can be a stressful time, this could be a good website to visit. And lastly, we have the website U.S. Government Youth Mental Health. This is a hub of government information about youth mental health issues, including substance abuse, LGBT issues, bullying, LGBTQ issues, and bullying and homelessness. So other than that, I think that's about it. Just to wrap it up, if anyone has any questions, feel free to just, I guess, say your name in the chat or something, and I'll call on you. But if not, thanks everyone for coming, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Of course, thanks Dr. Wolf for coming out.
Thank you for having this program, Jan.